Tales of Mithrym.
Den of Thieves, read by Skye Alley, Part 3, Investigation. The sun rose slowly over the port, and the streets soon filled with people. It had been a long night, with very little sleep for anyone at the inn. Ducky and Dervil were sat at a table eating breakfast, while Elvin spoke with the landlady. "What do you suppose he's asking?" Dervil said, grabbing some more bread.
"No idea,"
Ducky replied.
"I'm about done with this talk of duty, though."
He yawned a long, deep yawn and stretched his arms wide, almost knocking over one of the waiters. Just then, they heard footsteps as Elvin walked over and sat down with them. He picked up a sausage and bit it as he leaned in conspiratorially.
"Well, that was illuminating,"
he said with a sly smile.
"It turns out that there has been a lot of this sort of thing going on recently. Apparently, aside from the damages, it was the silverware that was actually stolen last night. Miss Green, the landlady, says she knows it must have been the grocer, Mr. Smith."
Elvin leaned back in his chair.
"Apparently he accused her."
He pointed with the sausage as he spoke.
"Of stealing his, which went missing a couple of nights back. But apparently she reckons that his was stolen by the widow Tamerlane, who accused him of stealing her."
"That's ridiculous," Dervil broke in.
"I know, and that's not even the half of it. Apparently, Mr.
"No, I mean it couldn't have been him." Elvin looked puzzled.
"What do you mean?"
he asked. "I mean, well, Mr. Smith is that broad man that was in here earlier, shouting at her, right?"
"Oh, yeah, I heard that,"
Ducky laughed.
"Hell of a show."
Dervil glowered at him. "Well, look," she continued. "He's got to be at least 6 foot tall, right?"
"About that, I would say,"
Elvin agreed.
"But where are you going with this?"
"I saw the thief running away last night. I wanted some air. I saw them scramble down the street. They couldn't have been more than about 4 feet high or so."
"Are you sure about that?"
Elvin leaned in, his face a picture of curiosity. "Absolutely," Dervil went on. "I couldn't see their face," she thought for a moment, "or much of their body at all for that matter. They were dressed in baggy clothes and a hood."
"So, what? A child?"
Ducky gave in and joined in the questions.
"If it was, then it could not have been Mr. Smith."
Elvin stroked his chin.
"I spoke to him earlier. Not exactly a pleasant man, but he answered enough. Anyway, he has no children. As far as I am aware, there are only him and his brother that run that shop together."
They all sat quietly for a while as they finished their food.
"Which way did they go?"
Elvin asked.
"Who?"
Ducky looked around.
"No, I mean the thief. Last night."
"Down toward the docks," Dervil pointed.
"Maybe one of the families down there could place them."
Elvin got up.
"Come on, you two. Duty calls."
Ducky growled. The sun was well on its way to noon when the 3 of them finally made their way into the dockyards. Several large ships were moored up along the jetty. Their tall masts stood like trees against the clear blue sky. The waters of the sea lapped against the coast with a gentle swishing sound, and a large number of gulls flew overhead as teams hauled boxes, bags, and bottles onto and off of the ships. Ducky looked enthralled as he watched the busy lines of workers move this way and that. Elvin began hunting for someone to talk to. Just then, though, a cry came up from the mass of people as a large crate began to slip. Ducky ran forward and, wedging himself between the box and the ground, drew it back up. There was a small round of applause, during which he bowed with a smile. A tall, stocky man stepped forward.
"Quick work there,"
he said to Ducky.
"You may have just saved us a fortune in lost whiskey."
Ducky's eyes gleamed. Elvin stepped between them.
"Hello,"
he said, reaching out a hand.
"I am Lieutenant Elvin Ranley. My friends and I are investigating a burglary, and I was hoping you might be able to help answer some questions."
The tall man's face broke into a frown.
"Huh,"
he said with a growl.
"I can't say as I'm all too fond of questions."
He looked back over at the crate of whiskey being carried away.
But seeing as you've just saved us a payout, make 'em quick.
He gestured to a few barrels and sat down. Elvin sat down opposite, and the other two soon joined them. The man continued.
We don't like interference round here. We're a busy dock, and His Majesty is generally seen fit to leave us be. We rarely get a warden.
He looked Elvin up and down.
Let alone a military man like yourself.
He sighed and shook his head.
But perhaps it was inevitable, what with all the thefts these past few months. This used to be a good town, you know.
When did that change? Elvin asked.
Can't say as I could really tell you. I've been foreman of these docks for about 30 years now. We don't get much trouble down this way. We keeps the ships locked down at night, and there's a few lads on guard back up the way.
He pointed up towards the road, then chuckled.
I tell you, they saw your bodyguard coming. Big chap like that. Had one of them run down here to warn me just before you showed up.
Do they keep watch all night? Elvin asked.
Of course,
the foreman answered.
We're not wizards, you know. There's not many thieves as can't work their way through an honest-to-Ian lock and bolt. We keep a watch all through the night.
Did anyone come down here last night?
Why, you in pursuit?
Sort of. Elvin gestured up towards the inn. There was a child seen running away down the road towards the docks here.
What? A kid?
Yes. The foreman laughed.
Ain't no kids allowed down this way. There's a watch kept just past the inn. Everything from there onwards is working ground. Adults only, you understand. Who was it as saw 'em? Old Frank? He sees all sorts of things after he's had a few.
The foreman winked.
Like I say, used to be a nice town.
He sighed.
Thieves and drunkards, the lot of 'em now.
It was definitely a child, Derville broke in. And we're quite sure they came this way. She thought for a moment. Or at least that they started to. The foreman stood up and dusted himself off.
I don't know what your witness thinks they saw, but there ain't no kids round here, and that's a fact. Now, if you'll excuse me, we got a lot to get done today.
But, Elvin started.
If you're after arresting a kid, you're best off trying up at the schoolhouse.
The foreman walked away and began shouting at the workers. Elvin sighed.
It sounds as though we are done here then. Come on.
Tales of Mithrym are written by Jimmy Clephane. Mithrym is a fantasy world built for the Dungeon Room role-playing game system. To find out more about the world of Mithrym, or to try out the game, go to www.mithrym.com.